Good morning and welcome to the ESPON seminar on quality of life for territorial and citizen-centric policies. My name is Jon Worth and I'm the moderator of the conference here in Bled, Slovenia this morning. And it's my job to pilot you through the program here this morning in this hybrid format. We have here in Bled a team of technical experts who will help with the live streaming, with the presentations, and we have some of our speakers who are also here on the spot. We also have some of the speakers coming up later on who will be joining us by webinar. Today, and indeed the whole ESPON week, is in cooperation with the Slovenian presidency of the Council of the European Union and in the framework of the ESPON 2020 cooperation program. Today, we're going to be examining the concept of the quality of life from different standpoints. What does quality of life mean for policymakers? How does it relate to demand from citizens for greater participation into political processes? And how can the concept of quality of life complement other economic, environmental, and social indicators? After a round of initial introductions, which will be coming up in just a moment, we'll then have a keynote. We will then have the presentation of ESPON evidence, and then there'll be a policy debate that will then take us up to lunchtime. And then in the afternoon, there will be workshops that will be happening in parallel. As all of this is running in a hybrid form, and so to all of you, hello to wherever you may be all around Europe, sat in front of your laptops this morning, how is this going to work? Now, if at any point anything is unclear, go to the ESPON website, espon.eu, and you will find the link to the dedicated page on the website, which explains every different part of the program, links to all of the live streams. Everything will also be, and it's already been posted there, will be streaming live onto both Twitter and Facebook as well. And if you wish to post on social media throughout the event today, please use the hashtag there, #ESPONWeek. So, without any further ado, let's move on to the initial introductions. So, first of all, I would like to give the floor to Wiktor Szydarowski. My apologies, I'm stumbling this morning. The director of ESPON EGTC. He's been director of ESPON since September 2020, so piloting the organization very much through this coronavirus period. So, Wiktor, the floor is yours. Over to you.
John, thank you very much. Indeed, not a very easy period for anyone to attempt to steer the ESPON program towards the results that we would all expect. Dear ladies and gentlemen, we have a fundamental question to investigate today. What makes a place worth living or working? Is it good transport connections, or is it perhaps a lively urban environment? Perhaps a peaceful landfield, or something that we would like to stay indoors for, or perhaps outdoors. So you can see there are many flavors and many aspects that we need to discuss with every single person what the meaning of the quality of life is, not the meaning of life per se, which is another fundamental question not to be taken up today. Our seminar today and tomorrow quests after this meaning of the quality of life. As we know, the quality of life is not just economic output and living standards. It is shaped by what matters to us, how we see our position in life, in the context of our culture and value systems, and also what kind of expectations and needs we might have. We see the growing importance of quality of life in public policies, the European, the national, the regional, and the local ones. And just to illustrate, the cohesion policy supports the reduction of imbalances in the economic, social, and preconditions for people's well-being. The Territorial Agenda 2030, in turn, aims to ensure a future for all places and people. The Leipzig Charter stresses the transformative power of cities for a common good. The European Bauhaus initiative wants to shape a more beautiful, sustainable, and inclusive forms of living together. while the long-term vision for the EU rural areas strives for a vibrant tapestry of life and landscapes. The Slovenian presidency of the EU Council envisions territorial cohesion and high quality of life for all people, no matter if they live in urban or rural areas, in mountainous, lowland or border areas. Still, the question remains, how do we, individual citizens, how do we, citizen associations, how every single of us weigh different priorities in life, perceives in the quality of life, and for that reason, how we define and design the policies that address people's real needs. Well, of course, we may say the safest way is to include citizens in the planning and decision-making process for the designing and evaluating the public policies. And this is the approach that we within the ESPON program have taken on board. And we would like to discuss with all of you today. It's about citizens' engagement and active participation. We sometimes say it's a process of co-creating the policies with the people and not for the people. So my colleagues are going to present details of this specific approach. Just a heads up, one interesting dimension of the ESPON approach is the living labs. This is a very powerful but flexible tool to combine the knowledge of experts, practitioners, policymakers, and citizens on the ground in order to understand the different perceptions, different needs, and different expectations, and based on that, to build the policies that will be closer to the citizens as one of the objectives of the EU cohesion policy talks about. The ESPON approach is documented in the policy brief that we released this Monday, and you are most welcome to peruse, go into the content of the policy brief to understand our approach and to consider how to apply it in practice. But of course, we are not the only ones that work on the methodologies and the measurement on the quality of life. That is why we hosted in our last issue of the ESPON Territorial magazine prominent policymakers and researchers to share their experience on that matter. Some of them will be together with us here today to present their views and hopefully also give insights to the ESPON program on how we could dwell upon their views and to incorporate them into the further works in our thematic activities. Romina Buarini, Massimiliano Mascherini, Franz Bokovic, Alenka Szmerkoil, Lili Madzia are the persons that will be with us today, and John later on will introduce them in detail. I'm looking forward personally to our debate today. I believe that the essence of our work lies in the exchanges between researchers and policymakers, and this is the way to improve the policymaking process and support it with solid scientific evidence. Before passing the floor again to John, I want to thank you all again for registering and participating in the sessions of the seminar. Of course, we would very much like to see you all in Bled, but because of the reasons well known, and these reasons actually have been with us for almost 2 years, it's not possible. But we do hope that we'll find another opportunity to engage with you in the meetings on the spot to discuss the various thematic evidence that we within ESPON are bringing to you for discussion and the application in policy making. I hope that you will enjoy the time you are going to stay with us today, and thank you for the engagement and involvement in the ESPON activities.
Right, thank you very much indeed, Wiktor. Next, we will move to the second introduction. This is a welcome video message from Andrej Vizjak, who's Minister of the Environment and Spatial Planning in Slovenia. So can we play the video message, please?
Distinguished delegates, ladies and gentlemen, dear participants. It is my pleasure to address you today at the beginning of the ESPON seminars originally planned to be held in person in Bled our prominent Alpine landscape. Fortunately, health situation at the moment does not allow for big gatherings like ESPON seminar usually have been, bringing together researchers from all Europe. A modern technology cannot replace interaction in a physical meeting, but it can bring us closer to learn, reflect, discuss, and take home some new ideas. During its second presidency of the Council of the European Union in the field of territorial cohesion and urban matters, Slovenia highlighted quality of life, affordable housing, and recommendations of the Green Urban Agenda Partnership on Better Regulation. The quality of life is individual and public value. Such values are different from one continent to another, from one culture to another, and from one individual to another. The most challenging issue is how such broad concept as quality of life can be integrated in policy making, taking into account territorial dimensions. In Europe, we are proud of the European social model, which ensures social justice and solidarity, including accessibility of services and general interest. European countries have introduced models for suitable and adequate contribution, quality, and access to services such as health, education, housing, social services, and basic supply. Different instruments have been applied to enable appropriate distribution, including spatial planning and polycentric development. Quality of life is assured also through protection and management of the land, landscape, nature, water, and the environmental enabled in the multi-level governance systems. The policy brief, a joint paper by the ESPON program and Slovenian presidency, highlights, among other things, the individuals are not only the consumers of public policies, but also managers of changes. This is very important, for we are in the breakthrough moment, facing great changes as a society as well as individuals that require both adapting lifestyle and social production towards implementing carbon neutrality. It also requires thoroughly integrated and coherent policies which will be able to support the necessary changes. Regular interactions among policies and decision makers, researchers, and citizens is crucial to define what should be quality of life in the future and what tailor-made measures are needed. In the past 7 years, ESPON has produced many interesting results through applied researchers and targeted analysis, innovative methodologies, and tools that can support our everyday work and decision-making. Yesterday, a kick-off consultation took place of the first 4 new territorial action plans, a new approach to ESPON knowledge and evidence production foreseen to be implemented in the next 7-year program. The seminar is a wonderful opportunity to interact and exchange on present and future territorial challenges. Distinguished guests, dear attenders of the ESPON seminar, I wish you inspiring discussion and thank you very much for attention.
Right, thank you indeed then also for the video message. So let's then move on to the next part of the event, which is going to be moving on to our keynote speech. But before we do that, I'd like to introduce one of our interactive tools that we're going to be using throughout the course of the morning. So that is the Slido tool, which we will be using for 2 purposes. Later on, we'll be asking all of you joining online some very specific questions on the Slido tool. But importantly, and particularly for our keynote speaker, we're going to use that tool to gather the questions for the speaker. So you're going to have to submit your questions into the Slido tool. You can also rank those questions. So you might read a question that someone else has posed. You might think that's a good question to pose to our keynote speaker. You can rank that up. Those questions will then come to me, appear on the stage on my mobile phone, and I'll then be able to pose those questions to our speakers. So if we can just put it up on the screen as I understand it. So you need to go to slido.com, and then it asks you for a hashtag. So put in the hashtag ESPON in the main hashtag search on the homepage of slido.com, and that's where you'll then be able to submit your questions. There's likewise a Slido app that you can use on your mobile phones as an alternative. So I'm just going to consult that here in front of me, and we see that there are no questions so far, but please do use that tool and consider that tool as the way and means of submitting the questions to our speakers. I just want a confirmation from the technological team. We are at the moment currently running slightly ahead of schedule, and we're just waiting for our main speaker to log in. So we will just take a short pause for a moment, and we will be starting back in 5 minutes' time when the keynote speaker is ready to go. So get yourselves a cup of coffee, those of you tuning in at home, and then when our speaker is ready, we will then continue with the live stream. So get yourself a cup of coffee, settle down, and then our speech will be starting in just a couple of minutes.